Hey all, we're going to service a Cane Creek double barrel air today. So we'll rip out the air out of this. Boom. Remove this retainer O-ring. Like that. Chuck it. Twist this off. Now I forgot my tool, so I'm gonna do it the dumb way. Normally you would use a Shimano external bottom bracket tool on that. I'm gonna clamp this. So that exposes the shaft. Eight millimeter shaft. We'll use these shaft clamps here. These are Olin's, but anything works. As long as it's 8 millimeters. So this air can wants to spring back from the negative chamber. Make sure to keep this washer and bottom out bumper. Okay, so now that exposes these Torx screws. If the shock ever gets sucked down like that, then you can slowly release these, and and this piston will lift, and then that'll relieve the pressure. Although these screws are really short, so it might also rip out the threads. So you might want to, one at a time, put in a longer one and do it that way. one is suspicious. It's coming out hard. Might be cross-threaded. No, blue Loctite. So now this whole thing will come off, and this air piston will pop out like that. Sag indicator, chuck it. The IFP pressure will relieve that. It should have 150 to 175 psi. This one's at 80. No good. Good. While we're at it, we'll undo these adjusters all the way out. Not quite all the way out. The climb switch is a little strange. So now this IFP can be pushed down. M4. And then the circlet will come out. Should come out, rather. Boom. Pull the IFP cap. So that exposes the IFP itself. We'll thread the same M4 into that one. Boom. Park Tool SPA2 pin spanner. Make sure you're not putting the pin spanner in the threaded holes. Okay, boom. A lot of spacers here. And then And take out the IFP now. Boom. Pour out the oil. Nice and aerated. Beautiful. Okay, so now we need to pull out these adjusters, because there's something funky with this lockout climb switch. So we'll do that next. Okay, so we'll pull out these adjusters. First, it's this one. So it torques. It's tight. Probably has blue Loctite on it. I would say unnecessary. Of course it does. Okay, so that freed up the climb switch. Still gonna pull this regardless. Spray out these tiny bolts over here. Really easy to strip out. Well, not this time around. They just fell off somehow. That was weird. These might have ripped out the threads. That's fun. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. We'll pull these adjusters one at a time. So we just replace this O-ring and that. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to be using this MTB Hydraulics seal kit, Cane Creek double barrel air climb switch full service kit from mtb-hydraulics.com. So that's good. Dump this out and find the seals we need. The thinnest ones. Tiny thin ones are for this. And then This is the other one that we need. Boom. Beautiful. Wipe this out. Good. Go back in. So I'm just going to put it most of the way in for now, so I remember that it's done. This other side, drain out the oil. Wipe out the seal groove. Boom. Same seals go on this side. Easy to find. Boom. Goes back on. Wipe this out also. She goes back in. Boom. That's the MTB hydraulics way. Okay. Now I'll pull these out. Compression, low speed compression adjuster needle. Be careful of the detent balls. Okay, so we have these seals, 4 of these similar size seals, and the 3 of them that are the same size, they go on these adjusters, the climb switch and the low speed adjuster needles, and the last one goes on the bleed port. That's the bleed port one is a tiny bit smaller in diameter. Oh. Boom. And we'll use grease to glue the detent ball and spring in place. Just carefully position that. The grease holds it in place. And she goes back in. In she goes. That's it. Whoa. Once you start hearing the clicks of the detent, then you know it's working. Okay, low speed rebound needle next. Same thing with the detent balls. 2 balls, 1 spring. Wipe down this. Wipe down the area around the adjuster. Wipe down the needle itself too. Boom. Pick off the seal. Chuck it. Wipe out the seal groove. Boom, new seal is on. Use slickoleum, aka glue. Detent spring first. Okay, boom, very nice. Feels good. I will pull this adjuster. It's, 6mm socket. Whew. That's small. Here she is. The assistant provided the socket. MTV hydraulic staffer. No. No affiliation.
Neutral party.
Yes, unbiased. Okay, so that's that, nice and dirty. There is a detent ball and 2 springs on this one too. Gonna wipe this off here. Shove in the towel. Boom. Good enough. Pick off the seal again. Seal groove wipage. Beautiful. Okay, that's on. Slickoleum for glue. Precision process. This one needs a lot of slickoleum. Try to center those. And then shove it in. Shove. The 6mm socket. Deep socket works better. Once you start hearing the clicks, that's a good sign. And it's a good way to test this. The switch, beautiful. Okay, so those adjusters are done. And now, I need to figure out what happened to this. because this little plate seemed to have ripped out the threads from the eyelet. Oh no, seems to work. Just tightening down these two screws, 1.5 millimeter Allen. Very good. Going easy on them because the threads are likely compromised. So that's good. This entire actually, there is a specific placement or clocking of this lockout lever, which I didn't do. It's on the Cane Creek website. But I like to think that I know it by feel. So I'm gonna go with that for the time being. I only say that because I've done a few of these before. A couple hundred. Couple thousand maybe. No. Okay, so we'll take this apart more just for completeness. Take off the reservoir and this shock body. Okay, so I clamped this reservoir in the Fox Forks #2 shaft clamp, largest hole. I grabbed the end of the reservoir because it's slightly bigger and it fits better. Fits close enough. And, oh boy. Doesn't want to come off. Not worth forcing it. And we're not taking it off as a result. I keep spinning in the vise. Unless it's leaking, not worth risking the ovalizing this, damaging something else. And this needs to come off before the shock body can come off. Otherwise, you're clamping the shock body like that, and it can ovalize the end of the shock body. Yes, I've done that. So we'll just call it good with this one. Take out the twin tube if it comes out. Yes, it does. Just hooked onto it. And we'll replace the seals now and all the rest of the components. Okay, so we'll start replacing these seals. So first of all, these two big quad rings, they're for the older and newer style air piston. MTB Hydraulics supplies both options, cover everything. Here's the wiper. These are all the same. These are for the outer air can or air sleeve. This goes in the with the wiper in this whatever collar. This will go on the bottom side of this collar. And then these are two options for IFP seals. This is O-ring for the IFP. This is a quad ring for the IFP. This one has the quad ring, but I don't like it that much because you can pinch it and damage it during installation easier than the O-ring. But the stock option is quad ring, but I use O-ring when I replace them. And then sometimes the reservoir is tolerant so tightly, or it's the fit with the IFP so tight that you need to undersize the O-rings and stretch them out, and that's the only way that you can get them in. So we'll see which option we'll need to use. And then this one is the seal head quad ring. This is the sag indicator. It's very similar size to the seal around this shock body and the eyelet, except the eyelet seal is a tiny bit thinner. Same with the, or sorry, there is also a seal for this seal, which is for the twin tube, which is inside on this end of the eyelet, so we're not going to use that. And there is a bottom out bumper here. This seal is for the reservoir threads. We're not going to use that. And then this one is for the bleed port. Seal head, thread seal. And that's about it. That's about it. So I think that's the one. Yeah. Boom, chucker. Make sure not to damage the bushing while you're taking this out. It doesn't actually need replacing this one, but I'll do it anyway. Actually, there are two seals. One of them is thinner than the other. I think we actually need the thinner one for the seal head. No, we don't. I'm sorry. I remembered that wrong. Only one of them fits, so that's good. Makes it easy. So we'll shove in the new backup ring. To make this easier, you can also make a cut into it with a 45-degree angle. Cut. Just use a dull object, aka Allen key, 4mm Allen key, to shove that in place. Keyword is shoving. Oh, and the backup ring is on this side of the seal groove, and the quad ring is on the back side, or closer to the back side. That's how it works. It's just the way she is. Sorry, backup ring is on the low pressure side. It's hard to get this thing in place sometimes. And gotta make sure it's not twisted and all that stuff. So that's good. Wipe this down, shove it back on carefully. Boom. We'll take this off. Not replacing the glide ring on this IFP, completely unnecessary. 100% unnecessary. But that's good. So we'll use this larger size O-ring, but you can also use a quad ring. And if this is too tight to put in the reservoir, then you need to go to this smaller size O-ring. That's how it goes. All the options MTB Hydraulics is offering to us. It's we're spoiled. They cover every circumstance, I can tell you that. Oh, yeah, that's the seal I forgot. There's an extra seal that I forgot about, which is here. And that's this one, I think. When in doubt, always just test fit the seal. Like in this case, I'm gonna put this in here. And I know this is gonna go on top of this, and it should snap into place like that. And snap off. So that, now I know that that fits right. So this air piston uses the thinner quad ring out of the two options. So, and we'll reuse these backups. And that will go there. Wipe these off. Boom. That's good. Okay, so I'm gonna need to separate these two quickly. This is not essential. Like, doesn't have to be separated, these ones, but I will. WSS 47.65 millimeter shaft clamps, specific to the Cane Creek double barrel air. This is the Shimano bottom bracket tool. Preferably this is not the one that you would use, but here we are. Wipe her out. O-ring chucker. Boom. So these ones go on here. Very good. This collar has a lot of old seals. Wiper first, then air seal, chuck all of them, air backup ring, that could be reused, thread seal, chuck it, wipe out the seal grooves, so that goes on the threads. Boom. That's the air seal, then the backup ring. Very good. Then the wiper, and that's it. She can go back on. We're assembling this now because I only have this bottom bracket tool, and I need to tighten this down before installing it in the shock body. But normally you would just use the wrench style bottom bracket tool, and then you can slide it over the shock body. So we'll clamp this again quickly. Just snug. That's all she needs to be. So that's done. Now the eyelet. Same deal with this. Chuck the seal. Wipe her. There's nothing else in here that needs replacing. And there's going to be the second seal groove is for the air sleeve retainer O-ring, which are all the same size. And actually, the bottom out bumper is going to go here, like that. And then we'll pull out this bleed screw. Place the seal on this. It's really not necessary, but I'm doing it anyway because I can. Because MTB hydraulics allows us to. Very good. And I'm gonna put the sag indicator on here before I forget. Now we can go ahead and fill the damper. Okay, so we'll fill this shock 4-weight Maxima, or sorry, Motor X, which is Fox sells it too, so that's what we're using. Make sure all the adjusters are all the way out, which they're not currently. Don't crank on the adjusters too hard, because you will rip out the threads on the limiting plate, just like the previous guy did, kind of. Okay, good enough. So we'll fill her. Fill her both sides a little bit, and then grab a glove. from the reservoir side. Can you come in close? We're gonna put this over the resi and pumper. Just purge the valves. Boom. Top it off and skim off the air bubbles and then put the IFP in place. Almost ready for the next shock. Almost ready to start the next shock. He's an overflower, that's for sure. Skim off the air bubbles. Twin tube goes in. Need to wipe it out first. Skim off the air bubbles again. The holes need to be oriented to the top. Boom. Snap the inner tube in place with a dull object. And then we need the M4 bleed fitting and syringe from our friends MTB Hydraulics. No, this is actually a custom fitting, but the syringe is from MTB Hydraulics. And I'm gonna put in this circlip in the resi side. And I'm gonna pre-fill these holes on the piston. I'm going to put this in and purge that piston a little bit. Okay. A lot of overflow, but that's just the way she goes. And I put on the wrong seal. Oh, did I? It's pinching the seal. Yeah, I put on the wrong seal. Oops. Okay, so we fixed this, got the right seal. I threw out the right seal. Got a new one. All is good. And now we'll need to do some bleeding on this. So I'm taking off this bleed port and shoving on this MTB Hydraulics syringe. And this fitting is, you know, it's custom. I ground it down so there's enough clearance. But it's an M4 fitting, but it's Just what you need for Cane Creek, unfortunately. We'll fill this, and then we'll cycle it. Okay. The shock feels good. Just cycle both sides a few times, and once there are no bubbles coming out, she's good. So that's good. We need to set the IFP depth. Need to let out some oil from this syringe. Okay. The way we set the IFP is bottom it out and then push it back out 3 millimeters. So hopefully this will allow me to bottom out the IFP. Anytime, sorry, I made a mistake here. Anytime you put a syringe on the shock, you want to push oil out because the tip will have, potentially, will have a tiny air bubble, air pocket. Okay, but that's nice, it's bottomed out. So, that's bottomed out, and make sure there's no air going in there. Push it out 3 millimeters or so. Close enough. This will come off. Make sure to fill that in, little countersink, and then plug the hole. Boom. So that's good. We'll inflate the IFP next. Take the circlip out. The IFP cap back in. It's easier with that screw, which I lost. Well, I lost the screw, so just went in by hand, no problem. Good thing I lost the screw. Oh, good. Even better.
One take.
True. Okay, boom. Cap it. This. Feels good. Checking this orientation. Feels good. Climb switch. I need to reclock it. Okay, so that's the open, and that's the climb. I said I would do it by feel. I did. But the Cane Creek website has the actual procedure for clocking this. Excellent. Now we install this air can. This is a lot harder this way. It pinches one of the pinches the seal. with the tools we have right here, I just need to make it work. I forgot my tool. I'm sorry for anyone who's watching this video that you're crazy enough to watch such a bad video. Putzing around, some noob putzing around. But that's what I get for not bringing my tool, my cassette tool. This needs to be separate from the air can. That's just the way it is. Yeah, we need to wrap up this session quickly. It's getting out of control. Okay, so that's on. Put this on, or this. Goes in place. There's not a lot of thread engagement on these screws because they're so short. It always makes me worried about cranking on them. But I'm not going to replace them today. It would be a good idea to replace them with a couple millimeter longer ones. Probably M4 by 8 countersink. Flathead, I mean. Okay. Bottom out bumper and washer. Okay, just snug. So these go back together. some air can lubricant. Thread this on. Tiny bit of air can lubricant in here. Just a tiny bit. Thread this on. Get the bottom bracket tool, wrench, and tighten it, which I'm not gonna do because I forgot the tool. And then the air can goes back, air sleeve. Okay, that's good. The air sleeve retainer. I'm gonna tighten the air can collar when I grab the tool, but that's it. That's it. Just the valve cap back on. Don't need to restore any settings on this one. So that's it. That's the end of it.